Hi guys, welcome to 4 Steps to Better Portrait Photography. My name's Mark and today I'm going to be covering 4 simple steps that I have taken to improve my portrait photography. Now, number 1 is equipment. Obviously, we know the saying goes, it's not the gear, it's the photographer. And there's so much truth to that, but gear can help you. I used to shoot on a crop sensor camera, and I've recently upgraded to a full frame camera. Now the difference between that is that a crop sensor is basically a slightly smaller sensor and a full frame is a larger sensor. Now the difference is not massive, but there is a certain magic, when you're shooting full frame. It just gives you an extra dimension to your image. There's a little bit more space as well because it doesn't crop in, hence the word crop sensor means it's cropped, whereas full frame means it's the image the way it's intended to be. So it just gives an extra dynamic to your picture, which is quite magical when it comes to portrait photography in particular. Now, in terms of a flash gun, I was using a Godox flash. I had a Godox trigger, and these things are important to have a good flash. Obviously, it's a studio setting where we did this shoot, so we needed artificial light. We couldn't rely on natural light. It was also late at night as well, where there was no natural light anyway. So that's where, obviously equipment comes in handy. Now, the second step is lighting. So they go hand in hand, these two, I feel. Basically, lighting, again, I'll go back to what I was using in terms of my flash gun. I used a Godox flash, and that flash was in a beauty dish, and the way we set it up was so that the beauty dish was kind of over Ray's head, so it was kind of pointing down, but also there was a little bit of a slight tilt to it as well, so it would capture her face as well. So, and then underneath we also had a reflector, and I used the golden side of the reflector, and I used that to give an extra kick of light to flash back at Ray. So there's light coming from 2 different angles. So basically, you've got light coming from here, you've also got light coming off the reflector and coming straight at your subject in that way, and it just gives a more fuller image in terms of lighting. It's more complete. That golden reflector also gives it more of a natural tone, and also it matches her skin tone as well, because she's quite fair skinned, so it kind of complemented that golden tone, so it gave a nice warm feeling to the image, which worked really well. Now, as well as that, I used a light meter for all my settings. I find that light meters are extremely useful. They give you the right camera setting straight away. You don't have to worry about it. You just put the light meter to the subject's face, you pull the flash, it gives you a reading, you dial it into your camera. Now the settings that I was using, I used an f8 aperture. Now this is particularly good for portrait photography because it just keeps everything in focus. Obviously a blurred background is nice to have, but it's not so much suited when you're in a studio environment. When you're in a studio, you kind of want everything that you see to be in perfect focus. You want it to have that nice crisp look to the image, and f8 is that magical number really. It just gives you that just amount of focus and depth of field, so that you get that nice touch to the image, so you can see everything clearly and everything looks full, but it's not so high in aperture that you can't provide the light for it. So obviously the higher your aperture in terms of numbers, so we go from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, obviously the higher in aperture, the smaller the lens hole is, so that means that the less light coming into the camera. And in particular, aperture relates to the flash, because it relates to the artificial light, because that's the way the artificial light comes in, is through a flash gun, whereas the shutter speed controls more of natural light, because it deals with the time which the lens is open for and receives the light. So those things really help. Obviously you don't have to have a light meter, you can figure it out. You just take a couple of test images and play with the aperture, play with the shutter speed, until you get a good blend. Obviously making sure that your shutter speed is high enough so you can still hold your camera, depending on whether you're holding it or it's on a tripod. If it's on a tripod, you ain't got to worry so much, but if you're holding the camera, you need to make sure that the camera has a high enough shutter speed so you can still hold it and take pictures at the same time. These things are important. Okay, so third tip is posing. Now, posing is an interesting topic. People have different styles, and it's very unique to the individual, the person who's taking the picture, and it's unique to the type of feeling you want to communicate. But when you take a picture, you want people to feel something. You want people to feel what you're trying to portray. It's very much like a composer composes music. You want the music to put that person in a certain mode, a certain feel, and posing is a big part of that. So the way you pose your model will determine what people think when they look at the picture. Now, obviously, when a model is posing, and say you're taking just waist up pictures, there's only so far you can go with just face turning the head. You're going to have to start using arms and hands and things like that, and people get awkward with arms and hands. They don't really know where to put them if they're not an experienced model. So a lot of that is about confidence, and it's part of my fourth step, if I'm being honest. So my fourth step is to have fun and to be confident, and that goes hand in hand with posing. So the more fun you have, the more relaxed your model is, the more you try things, the more confidence you have. It's a flow, it's a circle, and that's the great thing. And the main thing when you go out there and when you're in the studio or you're outdoors taking pictures is that you want to have fun with whatever you're doing. So I tend to bring music with me, play music, make sure it's music that the model likes so she feels comfortable too, her favorite music, and you just make it a really nice occasion. And it's always when you're having a good time that the best things tend to happen. When you're most relaxed, that's when the stroke of genius happens. So it's very important to set the mood right of having fun, enjoying yourself. This is great. This is photography. This is a creative, it's an artistic activity. Let's enjoy it. So when I pose, going back to step 3, basically I tend to use hands a lot. So I'll use my hands on the model. I'll tell the model to touch her face gently, softly, not gripping too much, but maybe just gently, softly, and let them also as well add their own edge to what they're doing. And then obviously you want to be giving compliments as well, which goes back to step 4, having fun, confidence. So you want to be encouraging your model, and at the same time you want to be telling her where to pose, giving her direction, maybe not telling her everything she needs to do, but just that little bit of direction. Well, why not try this, why not try that? And obviously the more experienced models, some models, they know exactly how to pose anyway, so they'll just be like from the off. So it just depends on who you're working with and what the situation is. But with posing, it's good to use hands. It creates a nice feeling because you don't want all your pictures to look the same, just a headshot. You can have some of them as well, they're great, but you also want some shots that are more emotional, a little bit more feeling to it, and a little bit more creative. So yeah, experiment with it. Use hands. I tend to say touch the face, and then I'll have her other hand, or his, oh no, obviously not him, her, for these kind of pictures. So I'd have her touch her elbow, or maybe touch the side of her arm, or something like that. Something soft, something that looks inviting, that looks dynamic and interesting, something that captures people's attention, and that's what photography is about. It's making a statement, it's making a point, it's conveying emotion. So just have fun with it. So however you take your pictures, don't worry too much about gear and equipment. I know I've covered it. It does have its role, but most importantly, even if you're going out with your phone taking pictures, you can still create some great images. It's not about the gear, it's about how the feeling and what you're trying to convey. You could use natural light. You don't necessarily need all these things like beauty dishes and LED lights and reflectors. You can be creative. You can use the natural light and go out and create great images just by yourself. So the idea of this video is to encourage also people that are not professional but just want to take better images, is to give you some advice as well. Thank you so much for watching all the way through. Obviously, if you have any ideas for future videos, or you want advice on a particular area of photography or video, then please let me know, and I'll create a video for you, or I'll just write a response to you in the comments. Leave a comment, like the video, or dislike it if you didn't like it, and also subscribe if you haven't already. That way you stay in tune with what we're doing, and remember to turn the notifications on so that you can obviously know when we're about to do a new video, or a new video's just dropped. Then you will know about it straight away. Now I wanted to leave you with a slideshow of the pictures that I took, so you can see what we came up with, and it was an amazing shoot. So yeah, just wanted to show you some images. Thank you very much. See you soon.